As a geomancer, I'm somebody who can sense and work with the energies that flow through the earth. I'm also able to feel how they may be affecting the people who live, work or worship in those places. The Mary Tory Chapel that you see here today is not the original one. This is actually a restoration that the Victorians did. The original chapel that would have been here was built in medieval times, because this would have been a stopover place for pilgrims on their way to Glastonbury. It's a very beautiful, simple little church, and even today services are held here. It just has a very magical quality. There's something very restful, very peaceful about being here. And John Aubrey actually said on one of his visits here in the 1800s that this was one of the finest hermitages he's ever seen in the whole of England. Because yes, sometimes it is called a St Mary's Hermitage, sometimes St Mary Tory, Tor being the word for hill. And of course we are still up on that incredible sacred hill with our hill fort and our Roman villas and who knows what else. Here in Avebury Stone Circle, you'll find one of the best places to experience those energies because they're so powerful here. In fact, if you have a look at this now, I'm going to douse with my dowsing rod, and immediately we see the spin of the earth energy here. This is showing me how the energy is spiralling around this stone, this powerful magnetic earth electrical stone. Dowsing rods have been used for centuries to show people what's underneath the ground, whether that be water, gold, oil, but the ancients knew that we could also find these magic currents of power underneath the earth, and that's where they chose to site their sacred temples and circles. The metal itself is just made of brass. It's just a bit of bent brass. It's not actually doing anything in itself. It's just the indicator for what's now pulsing through my body. Now imagine if you built your house over this. You'd be sitting on that and sleeping on that and living on that all the time. And that's not always good for your body. Now, of course, not all earth energy runs in spirals like this, thankfully. Some of it runs across our countryside as straight lines, as rivers of current. And we call these ley lines. And you'll find that these ley lines have a particular personality to them. And what they'll do, they'll attract people and buildings to them that match that kind of personality. At the moment, I am just on the edge of one of the most famous ley lines in Wiltshire. Let me show you. There, they're turning, and that's where the current of energy is going. And this ley line passes through some of the most amazing sacred sites in the world, and one of them is just over there. Stonehenge. And we can pick up that line again. Here we are, look, the rods are turning. We're just on the edge of that ley line that's come from Stonehenge and passed through Old Sarum and is now clipping the end of Salisbury Cathedral. And you'll often find that where ley lines cross, there'll be a power spot, a powerful spot of earth energy. And the ancients and our ancestors would have built their stone circles and their churches there. And you'll also often find a story or a legend attached to these places that's been passed down the centuries. And where you get a particularly powerful place, you'll often find a devil legend attached to it. And here it is. This is the Devil's Den. Beautiful, isn't it? You can just almost feel the power from here. And it's the remains of a Neolithic long barrow where our ancestors would have buried their dead, and their priests, their shaman, would have communed with the ancestors for guidance and things like that. So it was a very sacred, special place for them. And legends here say that sometimes people see an otherworldly white dog with eyes that burn like coals looking out at them from inside the stone chamber. And those sort of dogs are often associated with Celtic legends and otherworldly creatures, and often denote a place that's linked to the underworld. ancient sites, because they are on top of such powerful earth energy, often attract very strange phenomena to them. Now here in Avebury, it's often surrounded by crop circles come July, and people come from all over the world to see them. I feel that these are like churches in chalk. These fields around the bottom of the horse are where you get the most magnificent crop circles. Some of the most famous ones have happened in this very corn area here. Something about the land here is sacred, and the white horses and the stone circles are marking that. And for some reason, the crop circles feel drawn to those places as well. Here we have a chalk hill figure on a piece of sacred land and a piece of sacred art. Well, whether it was made by humans or other agencies, I don't know, but isn't Wiltshire fascinating? And it's not just the ancient history of a site that is interesting. Sometimes you'll find that the more recent events are very intriguing too, like here at Avebury. Because what we see today as the stone circle is not the original one. It's not the one that our ancestors built. This circle here is the work of a very strange and charismatic man, a Scottish playboy called Alexander Keeler. Now Keeler was a very rich man, and he was able to buy the whole village of Avebury, and he lived in the manor house that you see behind me now. He was also a very keen and accomplished archaeologist, and he set about resurrecting the stone circle, because by then, in the 1930s, a lot of the stones were under the ground or broken. Now there's no doubt that Keeler did a good job with the archaeology here. He was very accomplished in that field, and I'm sure he's done the stone circle proud from that point of view. And we need to be grateful to him for doing that, because it wouldn't exist today if it wasn't for him. But I also wonder what else he has left in the stone circle, because by all accounts he was a bit of a strange man. There's been stories of him conducting strange rituals up at the manor house as he was involved with witchcraft and occult practices. Now whether that's gone into part of the restoration of the stones, I don't know, but it would be interesting to find out. St. Aldhelm has been reputed to perform miracles. One actually happened after his death, because he didn't die in Malmesbury, he died in Dalting and Shepton Mallet. And he was buried there originally, but apparently he didn't want to be buried there, because he appeared in a vision to the Bishop of Worcester and said, look, bring me back to Malmesbury. Malmesbury's where I grew up, Malmesbury I love, I want to be back here. And his body was brought back. Even today, this is a place of prayer and healing. Regular groups meet here to pray and to offer healing to the community. It's even said that there was one lady in the community who suffered from epilepsy, and after coming here for healing, she's been healed and never had it again. So isn't it wonderful that St. Aldhelm's legacy still continues on in this fabulous sacred structure. Britain is a fascinating land, and it's literally covered by ancient sites that are full of mystery and stories and legends. And if we can learn how to listen to those, we can hear them for ourselves, and our lives will be expanded with that.